Welcome everyone to today's episode. This is Functionally Enlightened, Sharon Surita, your host. So we are uncovering extraordinary stories today, resilience and triumph and adversities. Today we introduce Josette Tkacik, a professional dancer with an illustrious career that includes stints in Juilliard, Joffrey, New York, Alvin Ailey, and the Metropolitan Ballet of St. Louis. In 2011, Josette faced a sudden and severe diagnosis of advanced rheumatoid arthritis, a debilitating autoimmune condition that defied conventional medical treatment. Despite being told there was no cure and only palliative options available, Josette embarked on her own healing journey. Through sheer determination and unconventional methods, she achieved what many deemed impossible. She self-healed without Western medicine. Josette's remarkable recovery led her to being hailed as a medical miracle in 2016 when no evidence of disease could be found in her blood work. But her journey didn't stop there. She transitioned into becoming the world's most successful Zumba instructor, spreading joy and vitality through movement. Her accolades extend beyond the dance floor as she is recognized as a Santa Barbara hero, recipient of congressional awards, ranked as a top 3 author on Daily Om. Join us as we delve into Josette's inspiring story of overcoming adversity and forging her own path to wellness and success. So we are so excited to have you here, Josette. I would like for you to further elaborate on first. I think it's very interesting your whole medical transition, and I think you're the first person that I've had on the show that was officially diagnosed with rheumatoid arthritis. So if you could take us through the journey from beginning, or actually before you were diagnosed, to where you are today.
Sure, doctor. Thank you so much for having me. It is an absolute privilege to talk to you and to hopefully inspire your listeners. My journey before I was diagnosed and the person I am after I was diagnosed, they're two different people because I honestly was never I was never a particularly healthy person. I was a dancer, but that also included, smoking a pack of cigarettes a day because that's what dancers did back in the day. And I didn't particularly eat healthy. I wasn't so focused on health. I was focused on other things. But I did have quite a bit of stress, anxiety. I had started to get panic attacks. So I was definitely teetering on the edge of something very unhealthy. And I actually thought before I got sick, I thought, gosh, I'm literally burning the candles at both ends. I wonder if this is going to affect my health. And lo and behold, within about 3 months of those thoughts, I woke up in the middle of the night. My husband and I had just been separated. We had a 12-month-old baby, my son Tomas. And I just woke up in excruciating pain. My knees were super swollen. My neck, I couldn't turn my neck. Like there were different joint structures that were just, it was excruciating. It was unbelievable. So I was living with my mom at the time, and I said I need to get to the ER, and she took me, and I had to have my son with me because that was the only we didn't have any care. So yeah, in the ER in the middle of the night, and they said I bumped into furniture and I just didn't know it. And I said, I'm sorry, what? They were literally just saying, yeah, you're all swollen, so you must have fallen or done something. And I thought, I would know if I fell. I didn't fall. I'm in a lot of pain. So they gave me um, some anti-inflammatories and sent me home. And I called my husband and I said, I think I need your help because I couldn't hold our son. I couldn't do anything. So he came to the rescue, and there were probably 3 or 4 more ER visits. And the last one, I said, you don't understand. This is not normal. I'm in a lot of pain and I need somebody to help me. And they sent me then to a rheumatologist, and that is where I started to get some answers. But it certainly wasn't forthcoming. I mean, when they told me we're sure you must have bumped into some furniture, I thought, you've got to be kidding me. Mm. And so then, yeah, the rheumatologist said, well, this is looking like pretty severe because my left elbow fused. By the time I got to the rheumatologist, my left elbow was already fused at the joint. I could never straighten it again. And so when they did my blood work, I don't, you would know better than I would, but apparently some numbers were so high, they were just like, this is severe and your numbers are off the charts. And here's a long list of what you're going to need to do, including biologics, methotrexate. They suggested some steroid injections at the joints, and then they wanted to remove the fluid from my knees so that I could actually have some motion in them. And I did one steroid injection, and I thought I was going insane. It was my reaction to the steroid was so horrific in my mind, like my mental health. Um, it did some, and I said, I will never, ever, 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 ever do anything like that again. I don't. So I was kind of, that's where it began. That's where the journey began. I was in the middle of a separation. I had a baby. I had been stressed out. I wasn't concerned about my health, and I got knocked pretty hard to the ground.
That seems to be a common thread for many people who do make it into this chronic illness story. Whereas, there's people who have diagnoses initially and they progressively get worse, but they know that if they don't change their lifestyle, and it's the same for us, if they don't change their lifestyle or follow the doctor's orders, then they're going to get in worsening condition. But for people who come into this world without pre-existing conditions, it's very much of a light switch, but you have to go back and reevaluate all the stressors in your life. So you were mentioning you had a lot of environmental stressors because of the lifestyle you were living, the amount of stress going through the separation and being the mom of a young infant. That in itself is very, very, very stressful. I don't know if anyone else in your immediate family had any ailments that contributed, or if you were pretty much the anomaly.
I was the anomaly. My mom is my inspiration because she had stage 4 breast cancer, and she went and had a double mastectomy. And then when they told her, and this was 15 years prior, when they told her that she needed radiation and chemo, she turned it down. And she
Mm.
said, no, I don't. I'm going to find another way. And lo and behold, she was in remission, and she's now 87, and she's never had a trace of breast cancer or cancer in her body. So when my inspiration to not fill those prescriptions was number one from my mom and number two from my son, because I was still nursing, and they said I had to immediately stop nursing. And it was just too much all at once. There was an incredible amount of pain. I was still trying to figure out my marriage. I couldn't even get dressed in the morning. My husband helped me brush my teeth because nothing worked. And I I was just in black. I was in complete pain and angst and darkness, and my diet was terrible. I didn't know, but what a beautiful place to start. And I will always tell people that place of darkness um, was the only way that I could encounter the part of me that was immune to any illness, that was immune to any problems, that didn't feel the pain. There was a part of me inside of me, and it's hard to explain, but I'm going to try, that whispered there was a way out. And I was only able to hear that in that darkness. I think that it probably was shouting at me for a long time to kind of chill out, like you said, but I didn't listen. And I was able to hear it now. It was slight and it was faint, but that was the voice I was going to listen to come hell or high water. The only one I was going to listen to.
Right. So that was that pivotal moment for you. And from what I gather, you made some radical adjustments to your lifestyle, diet being the primary one. And I like that you capitalized on that. That's one of the first pillars that I look at all the time. And in my own case too, I had I guess a severe case of dysautonomia that resulted from a surgery, a hernia repair surgery. And the diet that's associated with neurological symptoms, or that is best fit to neurological symptoms, is sort of a ketogenic carnivore style. And that was completely the opposite of what I had done in the previous 3 years trying to go through my journey. But all that to say that diet is very particular. And I don't believe that there's any one type of diet for a specific condition, but rather, I've been doing a lot of studies on nutrigenomics to see how genetically we're predisposed to the conditions and what type of foods, not a group of foods, but macronutrients, and maybe more on looking plant-based versus animal-based, but they're without having exclusions. Can you talk to us about how you evaluated your previous lifestyle, and what kinds of steps you started to take to try to improve your
Right.
health?
Yeah, sure. And I think I want to touch on what you said because I've then since spoken to so many people. So many people reach out to me weekly about what did I do? What did I do? And that's the first thing that I tell them because I've met so many people that have gone on a similar diet to ketogenic, which isn't at all what I did. And they've had amazing results. So I can only say what happened to me. So what I did is I did a little research. This was in 2011. So we had the internet. I was researching a little bit and I came across a functional medicine clinic in Switzerland that was treating autoimmune disease. And one of the things that they did is they changed the diet to a full alkaline diet, which was plant-based for the most part. And so that was where I started. I realized also in reading the materials that there was quite a bit of detox that I would need to do because I believed that my body was just overloaded with environmental toxins, emotional toxins, which are huge toxins, that we don't talk about, but that I believe produce acid in the body as well. And so that's what I did. I took the first step, which was the diet. And I said, okay, that's it. I'm not doing anything if it's not alkaline or green. So I kind of ate like a bird for a while. I just ate lettuces and some seeds. I tried to balance it out. My husband and I had gotten back together so that we could take care of our son. And then the other big step. So that was the diet. It was alkaline water I started, which was a big deal. And getting rid of heavy metals, trying to chelate the heavy metals from my body, which the first thing was to remove all my fillings from my childhood.
Yeah,
So there
awesome.
was a lot of, little steps that I took that added up to big results ultimately. Yeah.
Yeah, I'm very big on detox practices. So, but there's a lot of people that deal with extreme sensitivities. We call them HSPs, highly sensitive people. I was one of those. So when it came to detoxing, I was already on a limited amount of ingredients in terms of the foods that I consumed. So I know I was nutrient imbalanced or deficient. But do you feel like when you started the detoxing, did you go all in, or did you kind of take baby steps to get to where you are today?
Well, I went all in at first and it knocked me on my tush. I mean, yeah, I mean, there's the whole, again, I prepared myself. I read a lot. I understood the Herxheimer reactions. I understood that every step forward, you'd probably feel like you were taking 3 steps back. And I didn't know, I couldn't see the forest for the trees, but I had to try. I had to try because I was pretty darn sure I wasn't willing to go the route of being stuck on drugs for the rest of my life. That was something I was super not wanting to do. And I'm also having this entire, inner journey and kind of meeting myself for the first time. And can I really heal? And it's worth the shot. So the detox was rough at the beginning. So I started to take little baby steps. I mean, the flu-like symptoms that I would get that would have me down for 10 days was a lot. And then I'm totally incapable of doing anything. So it was hard enough just with the RA, but then with the detox, was it was a lot. So I went to baby steps and got found the balance. There's, I think, anybody who's just starting the healing process and they don't have someone like you to hold their hand through it, um you try a lot of different things that you go, that wasn't a good idea, like,
Right.
oh crap, I shouldn't have done that much of that. So let's taper it down. So I was, just testing on my own body, but ultimately I found a good balance. I got a far infrared sauna, which has been unbelievably amazing for me. And yeah, I just took really radical care of myself.
It's a huge transition, and a lot of people around you probably don't understand why you become so strict with it. Because when you're in say the pits of it, you don't think that you're going to climb out. So when you start seeing progress and you know what you're doing, although it's strict and some people don't understand, you're not going to let go of those principles that you're starting to build up for your new life.
The trajectory completely changed. You're absolutely right. And it is because you're so desperate. Um, the pain, the angst, the darkness, to have a glimmer of hope, which is what I was getting. Um, there's nothing in the world that somebody could have poured me a glass of wine and said, just have a glass. No way, Jose. I am doing this.
Yes.
Yeah, for sure.
So how would you navigate, or how did you navigate the dips in the healing journey? Because we know that it's not always linear, or generally it's not linear. We have a lot of ups and downs. So how did you navigate through those dips?
I had, after I originally started and I realized that this is how this was going to go, and I made a decision. I mean, I think once you decide that this is the road you're going to get on, this is the lane you're going in, you expect it. And you go, okay, I'm just having an off day. I'm going to take really good care of myself. I'm going to drink tons of water. And I have, it's funny, my husband and I are now married 21 years, and we are stronger because of this, because he came to the rescue and he stayed and said, I got everything. I will cook. I will take care of it. Just relax. Just go to bed and take care of yourself. And I'll take care of our son. So it was just, I had the most beautiful blessing with me, which was my son and my husband, who were my crutch during that time. And so I was lucky and I knew what to expect. I think knowledge is power. Education is huge. That when you don't heal in a day, for sure. Um, and you didn't get sick in a day. So it's a rocky road. But I think mentally, emotionally, if you make that decision, then when the physical stuff happens, you're prepared for it.
Yeah, I like that you brought that up, that you don't get sick in a day. It's something that kind of accumulated over time. And then it just
Mhm.
got to the point where it tipped the bucket. So
Yep.
I see that a lot. And primarily it's in women. And I always say, I don't know if it's because they're more vocal or if it's more susceptible. You mentioned something about the emotional state. So I think of maternal instincts being in women, whether you're a mother or not. And so we tend to put on more responsibilities versus the male gender. But when we also multitask a lot. So we pride ourselves on being able to accomplish all these things. And we're in this culture that if we're not being productive, we're not we're not filling our cup, or we're not filling the
Right.
cups of all the other people that we care about. So that being said, I think the mindfulness piece is very huge. And when I look at it, again, we talk about diet, we talk about getting ample rest. And I love the fact that you were given the opportunity to get the rest when you needed it. Although we don't want to rest, right? We want to get up and be back to our old selves. So I'll jump back to that. But I think two of our pillars with rest and exercise, those two, a lot of people don't understand that they actually do go together. Like we need to exercise sufficient. We need to get the movement, but we can't overstress our bodies. Like some people jump all into cardio. And, with your specific profession, I can't imagine how you had to kind of put a stop or put the brakes on everything you were doing to begin your journey. So can you tell us how did you bridge that gap between finding the right time to rest and then getting the exercise and motion in place?
Well, it's funny. That's when Zumba came into my life, because I wasn't getting, and you're right, movement is medicine. Movement is medicine, but I couldn't do too much movement. And so I got licensed to be a Zumba instructor before I got sick. And my husband said, we gotta get you to move a little bit, because we noticed that every time I would move around, things started to feel a little bit better. And emotionally, I was better. Mentally, I was better. And so there was an ad for a Zumba instructor at the city of Santa Barbara. And I went in and I interviewed for the ad. It was really funny. My husband, we put capsaicin all over my knees so I could try and look like I was moving normally. I was on fire, but it worked, and they hired me. And so I started teaching a very slow, hardly moving Zumba class, but it forced me twice a week to get up and to go do it because I was responsible. And I swear, and Zumba's gone on to say that Zumba helps heal disease now because they're so proud of it. But it really did. It got me out of the fear mindset. When that music goes on, and people are smiling and they're looking at you, and the one thing that I know how to do is I know how to dance. And my dance changed, the way I dance changed, the way I move changed, because now it was just, if this is the last few months I get to dance, I'm going to dance with my heart and my soul, and I'm going to love every second of the music and the rhythm. And it became something deeper and so much bigger than me. And it was almost like a religious experience, because there was so much joy in the movement. Because when you're faced with, this may be the end, and because that's what the doctors were saying, when your knees are gone, your knees are gone, you can't really jump up and dance. And so that was how I started. I forced myself to go teach, and within a year, that class became, I was basically symptom free after a year. And at the same time, there were about 150, 200 people coming to each class. We bumped it up to 6 classes a week, and they were all completely sold out and full.
Amazing. And for the people who are dealing with rheumatoid arthritis or a similar condition where pain is the primary symptom, how would you did you feel like the pain initially was more severe, or did you feel from the day that you had that mindset shift, did you feel like it was manageable and that you weren't going to have any more of these deep flares that would put you back out?
So again, it wasn't linear. When I was dancing, I will tell you that the pain was still there, but the movement was like it's like a lotion on everything, and it felt like I could transcend the pain for an hour. Um, the minute, for me, by the time I stopped and I sat down and I tried to get up again, I was back to ow, ow, ow. But it was like a little bit better, a little bit better, and then, oh, it didn't feel so good, and then a little bit better. So the chains of pain literally started to pop off one by one, and some days it would be really bad. And I'll never forget, I had fallen asleep with my son. He was having a hard time, and I sung him to sleep, and I fell asleep in his bed. And the next morning, I was so accustomed, because RA is horrible in the morning. It's absolutely horrible in the morning. I didn't have any pain. And I wiggled my toes, and I sat up, and I like screamed, I don't hurt. And I jumped out of bed, and I started jumping around and I was like, nothing hurts. Nothing hurts. And it's gone, and it's gone. And we were all jumping around crying, and that was literally the last time I ever felt any symptom from RA, and that was in end of 2012.
For the people who again are dealing with RA and they've decided to find the traditional route, or they're going through Western medicine, what would you suggest to them? in terms of trying to advocate for themselves and regain that control that they've already given away to their medical teams.
Regaining control is a big deal, because I think that and I'm so sad. In fact, the woman, my doctor, who I love, she is one of the heads of internal medicine here locally where I live at the hospital. And she sat me down because she declared me a medical miracle. She said, we sent all your blood work to UCLA. I've talked to several of my colleagues in the rheumatology department, and they're saying that you're a miracle. And I looked at her. The reason she wanted to take my blood is she comes to my class, and half the staff at the hospital comes to my class. And she finally said, I need to know. I need to see your blood work. I need to see what's going on. And I said, okay, here's the original blood work. I had like 10 different tests done. So there was plenty of evidence of the RA and my RA factor, RF factor. Anyway, she looked at me and she said, I'm going to be honest with you. They will never study you. Because I said, I'm not a miracle. She goes, but there's no money in it. If we study you and we say we did alkaline, or we changed our diet and we changed the way we think, and we took radical care of ourselves, they're not going to pay for that, because people are going to pay for a study that they can make money out of. And I said, gosh, why can't we just bridge this? There has to be a way, because we need the medical industry. I don't want to, be in a, heaven forbid, an accident and get to the ER and not have any medical personnel there. You need the medical industry. So for me, it was the first realization that there was such a gap in what we could do and who we truly are. And so what I would tell people, sorry, that was a long story back to your question, but what I would tell people is to, number one, no. I hope that just by you having this beautiful show and people like me speaking up, to be inspired to know that it's possible. Because once that it's possible, you have to ask, is it possible for me? And I didn't do anything that was against, other than I didn't take the drugs, but it was an extraordinarily painful. So sometimes I can imagine people just want to get out of that grasp of pain. But I think, and again, I'm not a doctor, so I would say bridge that gap, but bridge it with yourself, because ultimately it's your life, it's your body, it's your destiny, it's your legacy. The people outside of you won't know your soul the way you know, and nobody's going to know what you're capable of until you go in and maybe, as I said, like I said in the beginning, listen to that whisper, because there is a place inside all of us that knows we can do things that they say we can't do. And I'm walking, living, dancing, laughing proof.
Said, I love that. I love that you capitalized again on giving the strength to yourself, or to overcome, not yeah, you're overcoming all those limitations that were set on you from conventional world.
Yep.
And I know that it's really difficult when we receive a diagnosis. Actually, when we first receive the diagnosis, it might be kind of a sigh of relief that, hey, now I can have some answers, what's going on. There'll be treatments, and treatments might help with some of the symptoms. They might give you back some of your quality of life, but it's not doing anything to change what those underlying root causes are, what those imbalances are in the body. So when you redirected and you started looking at your diet and your lifestyle, your exercise, you got the movement back in, you started doing more stress reduction things. I think in your case, what people would think of the exercise might be a stressor, but you actually found it as a stress relief, right?
Yes, for sure. Yeah.
So if trying to think across the people that come to see you, the people that come to your classes, what kind of a population do you normally get, or is just very diverse?
Yeah, it's pretty diverse. Zumba is such an amazing program because it's for everyone. I've gone to so many different Zumba classes, and there are kids in there, and there are, so my oldest person who has not missed a Zumba class since pre-COVID. He's now 97. He's a World War II veteran. Even when we were online, he was the first person to log in to the online class. Obviously, he's not doing everything that I'm doing, but he is, it's radical self-care, because you take 1 hour where you're listening to music, you're dancing with community, you're smiling and laughing. I mean, it's silly, it's stupid, it's effective, it's exhausting, it's fun. I think that the variety that I always say, especially here, I'm in Santa Barbara, so I have, a billionaire and the housekeeper is over in the corner, and the billionaire is up in the front. I have the doctors and the lawyers and the medical staff. There's such a diversity, because for me, when you walk in the room, we're just all team humanity. It's such a coming together through music. You're from the islands, my mom's from the islands. That's such a big part of our culture, is to just throw everything else out the window, get the food, have the music, have the community, the people, and that's where the soul of life is.
Mm-hmm.
And so that's kind of what I try and bring in my class, and it's been pretty successful. And still, even now, we're still packed and full, and I'm starting my 14th year doing this.
Well, I truly believe that it's so successful because you are putting your whole heart out there. You've experienced something that could have wiped it all away. And if you had let it get to you and kind of crush that spirit that you had within you, then obviously you wouldn't be here today. And you're here today. And we truly appreciate you sharing how you overcame this and how you're actually putting your pain or purpose to your pain. So I know a lot of people listening. I do have a diverse audience too, but I want to say there's quite a few that are incapacitated to the point where just regular mobility and day-to-day movements are difficult. And I was in that space for many months following my first two surgeries. But what would you say to them? Like, is there something that they could do to get that movement and to get that mentality that they can get beyond this limitation?
Yeah, well, I think the mentality is the start. You know, even when I couldn't move, I could close my eyes and go inside and create the sanctuary inside me. And that kind of then goes into this mindfulness and mental health, and I don't want to say spirituality, but it is a sort of spirituality where you're finding the only guru that you need, which is inside of you. And for me, that was huge, because had I not had that whisper and made the effort to amplify that connection, that relationship with the truth of who I was. And I think that that's literally why I want to keep on, speaking and talking out to people, because when you do connect with that guru inside of you, which is just you, you recognize that it's in everyone, and there's no ego about it. And it's a humbling, beautiful, we're all connected, we're all in this together, and there is a space where you can create that sanctuary, even if it's only in your own mind. And what I have found is that when you focus on something like that, even if it's just for a few moments, it will grow and it will amplify, and little by little by little, you are amplifying the goodness. So if, for me, I used to close my eyes and just imagine what it would be like to play with my son at a playground. That was my meditation. I just would try and conjure the emotion. You got nothing to do. You're sitting on a chair or you're sitting on your back. You might as well conjure the emotion of joy. And that became like a daily practice for me. And it was, I'm sure of it, it was part of what healed me, for sure.
Yeah, that's definitely the way to go. Again, when we're in the pits, if we're dealing with so many symptoms, some of us focus on the negatives, like, oh, here we go again. I don't have the ability to get up and get my own beverage, or I'm going to be stuck in the house. But if you can find that one thing, two things, three things that you could be grateful for. And so some of the practices that I find very helpful include that positive visualization that you were just talking about with your son. That's that beautiful memory, a beautiful moment that you can conjure that happiness, that peace, that solace, and just joyful sensations. And then in other cases, maybe you can't get beyond where you're at physically, and just maybe you think about the appendages you have. If you have your hands, if you have your feet, you're the sensation you can still feel, hopefully not concentrating on any painful sensation, because some of us do deal with neuropathies. But then that being said, you redirect and you say, picture a moment when the pain was more manageable and that you were able to do something more than what you're feeling at that moment. So
Yeah.
with that, gratitude journaling was a really big thing for me in my healing journey. And so I make sure that all of my clients implement gratitude journaling in the morning and before bed. That will lend itself to getting better quality of sleep. So before, I know I want to be respectful of your time, but is there anything that you would want to impart to our audience that they should try to incorporate into their daily living routine?
Yeah, no, I would definitely say radical self-care, whatever that looks like. For some people, I'll just say I was talking to someone about what the perfect vacation looks like, and this is one of my good friends, and she said it looks like a ski slope with ice cold weather and lots of snow, and I just gasped because for me, my perfect vacation is playing with my family on a tropical island and not worrying about anything. But it just goes that everybody has their own way of, they have their own things that give them the joy and that will pull them forward. But the best advice I think I can give, just coming from my own experience, is find one thing that brings you happiness, find one thing that brings you joy. That was my dance, and it literally pulled me through the darkest of moments. And if you can just catch yourself, like you said, when you start going into the negative, it's inevitable. We're all, especially those of us who are suffering and trying to overcome something, it's not a walk in the park. And be gentle with yourself and forgive yourself when you go and you focus on, oh, this really hurts and this sucks, and it does suck. But we can always, like you said, shift our mindset. It's a practice. It's like a spiritual muscle that you put your effort in every single day, and it grows and it gets better. It's a beautiful journey, the journey of overcoming. It's a beautiful process to transform, but it's not an easy one. And so I would just say take it step by step and move towards your own light.
Love that. I love that. Now, I know you offer virtual lessons, virtual classes, and in-person classes. Can you tell our audience how they can reach you or how they can look up your information?
Yeah, sure. Thank you. On my website at Josette, you can just put JOSETTET.com, or on Instagram, which is Josette Tkacik. And you can find me on Daily Ohm, and you can also find me on Humanities Team as well. I have courses pretty much all over the place.
Nice, nice. We'll make sure to include that in the show notes. And Josette, I thank you again for sharing your story, for giving us inspiration. And I wish you all the best with getting your message out there and including that joy for everyone that you encounter.
I'm so grateful for this time. Thank you so much, Doctor. I appreciate it.
All right. Thank you to our listeners, and we'll see you on the next one.